Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining. My name is Louise. I'm an occupational psychologist here at People Test Systems, or Assessio Denmark, as we will soon be called. A couple of years ago, we identified some core trends in the future of management. One of the themes here was the understanding and usage of new technologies. And whether you have just discovered the possibilities of AI or you're already suffering from so-called AI fatigue, the ability to comprehend and properly use AI is more relevant now than ever. At our latest event, we had the pleasure to welcome AI expert Claus Nygaard, who was so good at presenting AI on a hands-on level that we thought that more people should have the opportunity to listen to him. So in a moment, I'm very happy to pass the word on to Claus. But first, I would just like to inform you that you will receive an aftermail with the recording of today's session. And regarding questions, you can put them in the chat along the way, and then I will pass them on to Claus after his presentation. So there will be time for questions, but they will be at the end of the session. I hope you will all enjoy the session, and with this, I will leave it to you, Claus.
Thank you very much, Louisa, and thank you to everybody for joining us this morning. I'll start by sharing my screen, and then you can follow along on the PowerPoints here on the screen. What I also want to tell you, and Louisa just touched upon it, that you will get an aftermail, and you will, of course, also get a link to my PowerPoint presentation, so you have it and you can go into deep depth with the prompts that I have prepared for you here. So what I want to do today is to show you 7 use cases throughout the, you could say, HR value chain, from competence development or competence declaration to onboarding a new employee. So throughout those steps of the value chain, you could add AI. What I want to show you today is how we do it manually and what prompts I'm using. And once you have the prompts and you start using them manually in a tool like, say, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot, you can automate the process and have that process of what I'm going to show you with the prompts. You can have that running in the cloud. So the basics I show you now are hands-on prompting. And once you have the prompts, you can fiddle with them. You can make them tailored so they suit exactly what you want the large language model or AI to do. And then you can automate it. So without further ado, I would also like to introduce you to my avatar.
Many thanks to People Test Systems for inviting me to deliver a lecture on the use of AI in HR. My name is Claus Nygaard, or to be more precise, I am his digital twin, because I am not Claus, I am his personal avatar. He created me so I can work for him in the cloud while he focuses on other tasks. That said, I am both faster and wiser than he is. Moreover, I can speak all the languages in the world. This means I am capable of onboarding new employees in any language. I can also craft job advertisements, handle phone inquiries from job seekers, and conduct online job interviews in multiple languages. Since I cannot see the candidate, I am completely unbiased regarding skin color, gender, age, appearance, religion, and so on. I focus exclusively on the academic content. Additionally, I can develop scenarios about collaboration and the social aspects of work, then evaluate candidates' responses to these during job interviews. Now I'd like to hand over to Claus, who will share his thoughts on how AI can enhance the HR value chain.
So the reason why I start with an avatar like this is because it's now possible to build a replica of yourself. And with my avatar, I could conduct, as it told us here, job interviews. It can also work for me in the cloud, behind the scenes, without appearing on the screen, on screening new applicants. It can also answer the phone and talk with people who phones into our company and ask for the job we have open. And it can do anything that deals with data and anything that is digital. So as long as you have a data format that can be transferred into a digital media, this avatar can take over for you. And it can speak all the languages of the world. It can speak English even better than I can, much better than I can. Its vocabulary is much broader than mine. So this is where we are right now. I can make a digital twin, and it can start working for me, either on screen so people can interact with it, or in the cloud behind the scenes. So what I want to do is to talk about 7 scenarios. My way into working with AI started way back in the 80s when I was publishing educational software for the primary schools. And since then, I've been working with computers and technologies on and off. And I've been working as a PhD, assistant professor, lecturer, and professor at CBS. And in the recent 2 years, I started working full time on artificial intelligence. So the 7 scenarios I want to talk with you about today covers the entire HR value chain, from competence declaration to onboarding and coaching new employees. So that's the entire value chain I'm going to talk about today. If we look at the HR value chain and we start with competence clarification before we post a job, then we think about, now we get applications for the job. Now we have to screen the candidates. Now we have to interview them. And after we have employed them, we have to onboard them and training and coaching. So in those steps of the value chains, there are different things we can do with AI. First and foremost, if we took the competence mapping by people test systems and we put those competences into the AI, and we wanted to make a competence clarification for a job, we could actually use AI to help us do this. And we would write a prompt like this. I have written this in ChatGPT. You could write it in any other large language model. So what I do here is I say in my prompt, and it's a very large prompt, or well, to some it will be large, to other it will be just a part of a prompt. I write very long prompts. This is well, it's a large prompt, but not as large as it could be. So you can elaborate your prompting, and you can write even more detailed prompts, because the technique is to be so precise and detailed as possible. So what I'm doing here is I'm writing a prompt so ChatGPT can help me extract the competences that are needed for this job position. So I'm writing, we need to post a position for a project manager in the technical and environmental administration of a Danish municipality. And then I specify that the project manager will be responsible for managing large infrastructure projects with budgets exceeding 100 million kroner. And there are 35 skilled and unskilled employees in the road and park department of the administration, whom the project manager directly supervises. And I provide this context so that ChatGPT can understand in what setting the project manager is going to work. And now I'm writing, conduct an analysis of the attached competence map and select the competences that are most relevant for the project manager. And here it will draw on the competence cards that we just showed it in the first on the screen before. So justify your selection with concrete cases from the project manager's workday. So now it relates to what it think will be a workday of the manager. And then you must distinguish between work methods, collaboration, and personal foundation. Reply in English. And when I send that prompt off, you will see that ChatGPT now analyzes the competence cards and put them in relation to the job. And then it writes the job description or the competence description on personal foundation and collaboration. And those are the areas that I specified it should focus on, and also now work methods. So what we get here is we get the immediate reply from ChatGPT, where it looks at the competence cards from your system, Louise, and then it will actually read the text on the cards, and then it will use that when it writes the competence clarification for the new employee. And those are not the correct answer. This is kind of like an answer that I, as an employee, would use and discuss with my colleagues in order to say, do we want some changes? And if we want changes, we can prompt directly in ChatGPT and ask it to make changes. We can also ask it to elaborate even further on some of the competences if we want that. So the next use case I want to show you is how we can ask AI to help us with job posting. So what I'm doing here is I'm writing a prompt, and it's a long prompt and a detailed prompt, but it enables ChatGPT to write the job posting for us. So I'll say you need to write a job posting for the position where you apply the selected competences. And you should link the competences to the job title and to the work that the project manager will perform. And of course, it knows this from the session we were just doing before. You must elaborate on the competency profile so that only the best candidates apply for the position. And you should also write a section about what the position entails when the project manager needs to ensure success in daily operations. So now I wanted to think about how could a project manager in a Danish municipality in that department, how could that, what would work be like for that manager on an everyday basis on the daily operation? So it will fill that into the job posting. So you should also include a detailed section on how we expect the project manager to act as a leader in their management style. And you must require that the candidate reflect on how they envision the future project manager, especially in light of AI, remote work, a 4-day work week, and increased productivity demands, and heightened quality standards. So that's something we also want from our applicant to focus on. And now I'm just sending that prompt off to ChatGPT. And as you can see here, it starts to write the job posting. So it writes what the position entails and what the primary responsibilities will be. And they take those responsibilities from its own understanding of a job like that. And then it is using collaboration work methods, just as we saw in the first session where we were running on the competence map. And those are the competences that it adds to the job application here, or sorry, to the job posting here. And then it has, of course, what we offer and how to apply. So what you can see here is that it has actually written all the sections that I asked it to write has been written here. And again, it's an intuitive and quick way to come to a first draft of a job posting. And then we would have a meeting with our colleagues where we would change a little bit around and make it our own. But from the prompt and to the first draft, it goes very, very fast. So you can actually use this AI in this part of the value chain for competence clarification, as we saw. We can also use it for person profiling, and we can also use it for job posting. And this about the competence mapping and competence clarification. Louise, if I can ask you a question, I was looking at your system and I noticed that in your platform, you have a similar solution, the Lens Maker. Can you tell me a bit about what it does and how it has been trained to do similarly?
Yeah, of course. And it's absolutely true what you're saying, Claus. as I mentioned in the intro, People Test Systems is now a part of Assessio. And in the Assessio platform, we have a so-called AI lens maker who helps you select the right competencies for a specific recruitment. So you can, just as Claus showed here, you can simply type in a job description. And because this AI is specifically trained in the competency framework in the Assessio platform, it can tell you which competencies are relevant to search for in that position. And in this feature, in the Assessio platform, we have some guardrails for the AI. So it makes sure that the lens maker sort of, you can almost say, protest if you ask it something irrelevant for the job. For instance, that you would like the person to be in good physical condition for the company's soccer tournament, or that you would prefer a woman, for instance. So I was wondering, Claus, do you know if ChatGPT has any kind of guardrails or how it would respond to requests like this?
Well, what it has first and foremost, the guardrails in ChatGPT is about ethics, and it's also about, you know, that we are not going to stigmatize certain people. So if you are prompting it in that direction, it'll very politely tell you that maybe it will say it's not a good idea to do this, even though it could be attractive for you to think along that lines. You know, it's not that attractive in reality, so you shouldn't do it. So it will try to balance being very polite, and if you try to push it even further, it will say that it will not do it. It cannot do it. So it has guardrails also in ChatGPT, yeah. So, any other things about your competence clarification AI, the lens maker at this point, Louise?
No, not for now, but I would just say that everyone's welcome to reach out to us afterwards if they're interested in hearing more.
Okay, because this is, I think that especially this part where you have applicants or you have job postings and you have a competence mapping, using those psychological theories behind and competence theories behind, AI is very strong as a reflection partner in that respect. So I think it's very interesting that you are starting to implement this in your own value chain. So let's say that we have just posted the job online, and now people are starting to apply for the job. And in that phase of the value chain, some people will phone up to us and ask for questions about the job. So since we have made our avatar, we can now have the avatar reply to phone calls. So what I've done here is I have set up an avatar that can answer phone calls. So when people phone in and ask for questions about the job, they will talk with the avatar, who will then guide them to other people in the company or reply directly to their questions. So let's try to listen in on one of those conversations.
Hello, you've reached our company. How may I help you?
I have a question regarding the open position as project manager.
May I have your name, please?
My name is Claus Nygaard.
Thank you, Claus. What can I help you with regarding the open position?
What are the expectations for managing flexible work arrangements within the team?
The position expects you to foster productivity, team cohesion, and communication in flexible working environments, including remote working and potentially 4 days work weeks. Is there anything else I can assist you with regarding the position?
My background is from the pharmaceutical industry. Will that be relevant for you?
The job posting does not specify a particular industry background, but it emphasizes strong leadership, strategic planning, and project management skills.
So what you can hear here is that the avatar answers the phone. So we can use the avatar as a phone assistant we could also use the avatar as a chatbot, as we know it, a chatbot that will appear in the corner of the screen, and you can then write your questions there. The thing about the phone assistant here, we can also ask it to look into the calendar of people. We can do some guidelines. So it says what are you allowed to reply to and what are you not allowed to reply to. In this case, as you will see when you get the PowerPoint, there is a little QR code you can scan, and then you can listen in on the entire call, and then you will hear that I'm also asking about the salary, and then it says, "I'm sorry, I cannot tell you about the salary. The salary is based on competences and experience." But do you want one of my human colleagues to call you up and talk with you about that? And then if they say yes, it'll be able to book an appointment in a calendar, and then get back to my human colleague and say, you have a booking in your calendar. Please phone this applicant who have this question. So it's possible for you to set that up exactly the way you want it. So now we are starting to get the applications coming in. And what I'm doing here is I'm writing a couple of prompts that would help me screen the applicants. So I'll say, read all the words in these documents. Those are the CVs and the applications. And then create a complete competency profile for both candidates. Here I have 2 candidates. Create a table where you relate their competencies first to PMI's talent triangle and then to IMPA's competency baseline. And then I ask them to rate the 2 candidates on a scale from 1 to 10 in relation to competences, work experience, formal education, and personality. And also write a table. And here I have 2 different applicants, Ulrike Fransen and Bobby Jones, and for GDPR reasons, they are mock-ups, so they are not real persons. And when I ask it to analyze those, it makes the analysis exactly like I asked it to. So here you can imagine that you have 80 applicants, 100 applicants, 200 applicants, and what you do is you automate this process, and then you make it give each candidate a score, and based on that score, you will then sort the candidates for those are the good candidates that we are going to follow up on, and those are those that the AI is not quite sure how to respond on, and those are those that the AI would suggest that we do not process further on. So that's the way we can do it. And then we can say, make a thorough analysis of the job description and then match each candidate to all requirements in the job description and give each candidate a score from 1 to 10 and create a table for your complete rating. And that's the follow-up prompt. So imagine you have 200 applications running through the first prompt, and then you get the scores, and then you take those that you want to process to the second round, and then you make an in-depth analysis and a score on those candidates, and then you have that material already in your inbox the moment after people have applied online by attaching their application and CV on your website. This is the output you get. So there are no manual processing. Everything can be done automatically. And then from uploading CV and application on the website, this is the dashboard you get not only for Ulrika and Bobby, but for all 200 applicants. And you can change the focus of your prompt. You can change the focus on specific competences or experience or whatever. And in that way, you can use AI to screen your applicants. You can also do qualification assessments. And you can also ask it to write feedback to applicants. Those who goes to next round, you can ask it to write tailored emails to them, and those that you will not continue with, you can give them a very formal, and also even though it's a negative reply, also a positive reply where you give them suggestions for what they could focus on in the future if they wanted to apply for a job with you again. So there are several things you can do there. So now we have come to the part where we are going to conduct the interviews with the people who are applying for the job. And what we can do there is we can either prompt our interviews, or we could also make an avatar conduct the interviews. And this about avatar interviewing, that's kind of like the new way that the HR value chain is developed, so that when employees apply for positions, they can have their first job interview with an avatar. It means that if 200 people applies for the position, 200 people can have a round of interviewing with an avatar. And that avatar will be unbiased in the sense that it doesn't know who it's talking with. It doesn't know their skin color, their age, their size, their gender. It doesn't know anything other than what that person have supplied in their CV and job application. And then it knows the job posting, and it knows the company, the competence requirement that we have located in when we did the job posting, and then it will just conduct the interviews. And what I have done here is I have not set up an avatar for that, but here I have a prompt that I have written by hand, and this is an extensive prompt, and this is a prompt you can use when you make interview questions for your own interviews. And what I'm doing here is I'm starting by giving ChatGPT a role, so it knows in what context it is working. So I say, you are an HR employee with extensive experience in conducting job interviews. You are my advisor. You work at this company in Denmark where you need to hire this title. So here you can put in your own company name and the title you are hiring for. You need to help me formulate questions for the job interview I will conduct with candidate, and then see application and CV in the file, and I will then upload the CV and the application for this certain interview. And then I write, conduct a thorough analysis of the job posting below and define all the desired competency requirements. And the question must be specifically related to the competence requirements stated in the job posting. So we go back to the job posting we wrote before. And the questions should be structured according to Dreyfus and Dreyfus theory, so that allow me to assess the candidate's competency level. And that's the theory that go from novice to expert. And the reason why I want to use that particular learning theory, competence theory, is because I want to be able to distinguish between candidates who are able to reply to easy questions on a novice level, and those who are able to actually go all the way in the interview and also can reply meaningful to expert and reflective questions. And then I say you should indicate the Dreyfus and Dreyfus level for each question. And it is important that the questions are formulated in such a way that I can delve into the competences and experiences of the candidate. And they should be methodologically challenging questions that require analysis and reflection from the candidate. So I want to push the candidate up to a higher level. And also preferably self-criticism and insight into one's own role. And you should specifically refer to places in the candidate's own application and CV when you ask questions. So the question is not one size fits all. It will become questions related directly to the experience of the candidate I'm interviewing. And when I run that prompt, it will now start giving me ideas to questions. And it looks at strategic planning, team leadership, and stakeholder coordination, etc. Those are the areas in the job position that we were looking that we are saying the project manager should be able to master. And then comes the question at a certain level, and that question will then be guided by a follow-up question. So if we take the first question here about strategic planning, in your application, you mentioned improving project completion times by 20% at Mapletech Solutions through optimized processes. And Mapletech Solutions is one of the companies where Bobby worked in. It is written in his CV. And then we say, could you walk me through how you identified inefficiencies and devised your strategy? How do you ensure these strategies align with long-term organizational goals? And a follow-up, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently to further optimize those processes or outcomes? And then it asks, of course, for self-evaluation and clarification. And in this, and that's why it goes to expert level on that question. And you can see all the questions will then come on different levels. So I can use this to test whether my candidate is seasoned within the area or is on a sort of like beginner or immediate beginner level, whether they can reflect and reply on that. So here in this phase of the value chain, we can use the AI for interview questions, as we just saw. It could also be competency-based question based on the competences you have in your competence mapping. How would you, so on and so forth. It can go and formulate in-depth questions, follow-up questions. It could also be case-based questions where it formulates a case, and that case, we can then present that case to the candidate in the interview and ask the candidate to solve the case. So we can also make cases that are linked to the job if we want to do that. So once you have now posted the job, you have talked with the applications online, you have used AI to screen them, you have used AI to make the questions for the interview, or even ask the AI to conduct the first round of interviews. And why would we ask it again to conduct AI the first round of the interviews? Because then we could interview all 200 candidates. And all 200 candidates could sign up for an avatar interview. They could sit at home and do them. They could do them at the time of day or week when they found it suitable in their own calendar. And we could then filter all 200 employees through a first round of interviewing, and the AI could help us select which of the 200 candidates should then meet a person for a personal interview, where we were using the interview questions that we had here. So that's the value chain we have been building up here. And then we say, okay, we conducted the interviews and we have now employed a person, and now we need to onboard them, and we now need to train them. And what we can do is we can write cases and we can write role plays, and we can put that, here I have put it in ChatGPT as a prompt, but this prompt could again also be automated. It could be running on our intranet in a landing page. So when new candidates visited that landing page on our intranet, it would then start having an onboarding scenario or some training or a case discussion with the LLM. So here I have written a little role play, which I encourage you to try when you get the PowerPoints and you take this prompt, put it into ChatGPT, and then start to play with this role-playing game. So here I tell it that I'm a new employee in customer support, and it is responsible for onboarding new hires, and then it need to help me become familiar with my new area of work, which is customer support. And then it have to present a scenario to me that includes a dilemma with a customer, and then ask me a question. And once you have asked me a question, wait for my answer. And then pause and wait for the answer. And only when you have received the answer should you evaluate it in relation to whether it reduces or increases my chances of successfully resolving the dilemma with the customer. And then it should provide a report after each response and follow up with a new question. And it should go on like this, forth and back, until I write stop. And what it does now, it puts me in a scenario where a frustrated customer phones in and they are raising their voice, they demand a refund, and then it asks me, what would you do here? And I just say, hi there, I would start by asking you to calm down. And then it will go in and take an evaluation of that response. It says, well, it could be problematic, there are pros and cons, but instead of directly asking the customer to calm down, try to say, I understand that the situation is very frustrating for you, and I'm here to help you make things right. So now you have acknowledged their frustration. How would you explain the situation to them? And then it will say to me here that what would you like to do? And I say, what would you like from us? And then it says, well, that's not a good way of answering. You could say, I've checked the system. I see that your order has been delayed due to bad weather, and so on and so forth. So you can make those role plays. You can make those kind of role plays targeted to a different employees, a different department, a different role. You can script the role play yourself. You can even have an avatar conduct the role play, so it becomes more lively, so it's not like a text-based role play. So there are many things you can do here when you onboard people. And what you have to think of here is that the reply that is given from the large language model will always be tailored to the input from the user. And then you can have groups of new employees discussing things with customers, and you can upload technical manuals from the job. You can upload background documents, and then you can see if the employees can ask within the scope of the background documents, etc., or the guidelines or whatever. So there are so many reasons or so many use cases you can use here. And then you can also ask it to rate you and write that report in a table. So here it rates my interaction with the client, and that's the same we have in some phone systems. You know, when people phone in to customer support, we will record it and we will listen in on it, and then we will give feedback. So it's the same that it can do here. It can do it to the employee when they are solving the case. So it'll be a new way of onboarding and training customers. Now, another onboarding and training session is to include an avatar. So the avatar I was talking about earlier on, I have my own avatars. We can also set up other avatars. So here I'm testing an avatar that is a business coach, and I have just been employed in your company, and now I can talk with the business coach, and the business coach will enable me to do my job, or help me, give me ideas on how to do my job even better.
Hey there, how's it going? What's on your mind today regarding your business? Any challenges or goals you want to tackle?
Yes, I want my team to be a high-performing team. Do you have any ideas on how I could motivate the team to perform even better?
Absolutely. One great way to boost motivation is to set clear goals and celebrate small wins. Regular feedback and recognition can also make a huge difference. How do you currently motivate your team?
I currently motivate them by setting deadlines and then following up on their task in relation to completion. The closer we get to deadline, the more I try to push them to finalize, but it demotivates some of the team members.
I get that. Instead of just deadlines, try mixing in some team goals or challenges. That way, everyone feels like they're in it together. Maybe even set mini deadlines to keep things fresh and less stressful. What do you think?
So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm calling up an avatar. The new employee can talk with the avatar. It can be mentoring. It can also be used for self-study and e-learning. And it could also be used for scenario-based training. And it could also be a guideline where our handbooks and everything else was loaded into the avatar. So I could just call up the avatar on the screen and say, by the way, what are we doing here? And are there any guidelines for me to follow here? And then it would find the guidelines in the document and tell me that, yes, this is the guideline. So you should do this and that. So this about putting an AI into systems. That's another thing I noticed in your Accessor system also, Louise, that you have an AI assistant. It's not an avatar, but it's an AI assistant. It might be, I think it will develop into an avatar in the future. I was curious to know more about how it works, and is it out of the box for you, like here with ChatGPT, or does it know anything about the person it's discussing with? How do you guide that AI?
Yeah, as you just said, the Accessor platform does have an AI assistant. It's unfortunately not the friendly-looking avatar as Sophia for now, at least. But just as with Sophia, it allows you to interact with it in regards to your personal development. So just as you showed, Claus, it can provide you with tips on your development, but this AI assistant knows your personal profile. So it has the opportunity to adjust its guidance based on your personality. So in this way, the tips it provides might be more customized than what you just showed with Sophia.
Yes, that's...
Yeah, I can see that we're short on time, Claus, but before moving on to questions, I would just like to take the opportunity to probably thank you for your presentation, and thank you for another round of interesting insights and guidance on how to use AI in HR.
Yes, thank you. What I want to do now is just stop sharing my screens, so you know the image becomes larger. But the time now for some questions, and
Yeah.
thank you all for listening in.
Yeah, so in a minute I will give you some of the questions from the chat, but I would like to take the opportunity to ask you one myself. So I noticed a couple of times you were talking about AI as being unbiased. But what if there are inherent biases in the way you're asking it, or in whatever information it feeds upon? Won't it reproduce those biases?
Yes, it will. It will. The strength about large language models are that they are doing exactly what we ask them to do. So if we tell them that the candidate has this DISC profile, it will relate to that DISC profile. If we tell it has this Enneagram profile, it will relate to that. So the questions we are asking in our prompts, or the instructions we are giving in our prompts, will be biased based on what we are looking for. So if we ask it to make a score from 1 to 10 based on a certain parameter, that's the most important parameter that will get 10. So we have to be very clear about what definitions do we use, what theories or competence models do we use, etc., etc.
Okay. So I see a lot of questions on GDPR. I guess you're not surprised about this, Claus. So people are asking in different ways, but I think the sum of it is they saw you uploading CVs to ChatGPT. How does that comply with GDPR? Do you know that?
Yes. What we would say is there are two things I should say. The CVs I was uploading here was mock-up CVs that no one had. ChatGPT helped me write those applications and CVs, so I could use it in ChatGPT. So that's one of the things we have to take into consideration. How do we use AI to process personal data? And how do we do it? We cannot do it without consent. So what we first and foremost have to do is we have to declare that if you apply for this job, you have to be aware that we will use AI to screen the applicants. So then we could go even further, and we could say, we therefore ask you, like we do I'm just writing a book at the moment, and we are taking call for chapters. So what we say to professors from universities around the world is, do not reveal your identity when you submit your chapter, because we have reviewers who are needing to do double-blind review. So we could say to persons, don't reveal your name, don't reveal your age, don't reveal your gender, but reveal your experience. But we couldn't be sure that people would follow those guidelines. I was just reviewing a chapter for a journal, and even though people are not allowed to reveal their identity, they have the names in the paper. So I will have to refuse it because I cannot double-blind review it. So we would have to manually process the stuff before we send it to AI. That would be two of the things we had to do, yeah.
Okay, and just tapping into that, because I know there is an AI Act coming from EU. It's the world's first comprehensive AI law. So what are your thoughts on the features you mentioned here in HR and this AI Act?
What I think is, if we look at the value chain we have here, you see, that one of the things that is important is that we, as users of large language models now, we are users. Let's call us super users, because we are onboarding ourselves to use the technology. Then we have the AI Act, and then we have the large corporates that are making large language models available. Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Meta, Twitter, X, etc. Those are the big models. They are working super hard to be compliant within those rules. Otherwise, they will be shut out. Like the Italian government, they banned ChatGPT for a short period, about 1.5 years ago. It was simply not accessible in Italy for some months. And I know that the EU have also put requirements on ChatGPT or OpenAI, which have meant that they have now moved their servers for EU to Ireland to work within EU in order to comply to the data regulations. But as super users, I say we should be aware of what we are doing in the prompt, and as IT security and what could we say, law departments in our companies should be aware of how we implement technology so we can use it. So that question is so big that it's difficult to reply to specifically. I'm just sure that those big corporations will find out with the EU and negotiate ways in which their technology can still be on the market.
You're trustful.
I am. Otherwise, we will just switch to another provider. If OpenAI is not allowed to have ChatGPT in EU in 2026, we will use Microsoft Copilot in EU. So that's
okay.
The technology will not go away.
Definitely not. So we also got a question, Claus, on the part of having a first interview with AI. So there is a listener who asked if you know how big the interest is for having such a first interview. And I'm not sure if they're asking in regards to the candidate or the recruiter, but do you know anyone using it, anyone asking for it?
What I have seen is I have followed the development in HR in different forums on the internet, and there I became aware of now 2 companies who are American companies who are offering this, and then I have seen their client cases on the websites, And of course, they will write as any other big American company or small American company, it is coming out with a new technology, that all our customers who have tried it are very satisfied. So it's difficult to say, you know, they are first movers, and it's only a very, very tiny marginal percentage, maybe 0.001% that are using this technology, but they are showcasing the technology, and they show the way of how we can do it. And they of course have client cases, both people who are happy to be interviewed and people who are happy to use the technology. But I haven't talked with any Danish companies who are using it at the moment.
No, I also see that the comment that in Denmark HRs might be more reluctant. So Claus, there is some interest in both the avatar you made and the phone AI. So people are asking, is this just from ChatGPT, or how do you create AIs like these?
The avatar I'm using is made in the software called Heygen, Heygen, Heygen. And Heygen, if you Google Heygen avatar, you will come to their landing page, and there you can see different scenarios. And Sophia, the online avatar, and my avatar is both made with Heygen.
Okay.
And it's very easy to make. 30 seconds in front of your webcam. It have scanned your the way you look, and then it has been trained on your voice, and now it can with your voice do onboarding and script writing and stuff like that. You can also use templates where you have integrated PowerPoints and text. So it's like a Canva for avatars, if you know what Canva is. And I will write it in the chat. It's heygen.com. So it's heygen.com.
So I just see a question about how many of the solutions you're talking about that is used in Assessio, and I assume I better answer that.
Yeah.
So for now, the two features I mentioned, there is an AI function in the clarification of competencies. It's sort of a job analysis process. And then there is an AI assistant in the development module who helps you get personalized tips. So those are the AI features in Assessio for now. I think, Claus, we can just pose one more question for you before wrapping up. So I saw someone asking about if you have any experience with AI in performance evaluation.
No, that's an area I haven't been looking into.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts just on the spot?
Well, I think like anything I've showed you today, you know, it's about writing the prompt, and you could do that. Well, what you can do with as long as the performance is digital, as long as you have data, you can ask the large language model to evaluate or assess those data. So assessment, evaluation, help to do self-evaluations and stuff like that could be done, I would say easily, because everything can be done. It's about crafting the prompt that what is the output I'm looking for? What is the data I have as my input? And what should you do with the data in order to produce the output that I'm interested in getting? And then you can also make performance reviews.
Great. I think I got all the questions. Otherwise, people are welcome to reach out to us again. So I just want to wrap up and say thank you so much for joining us again, Claus. And a big thanks to all of you who joined the session, and especially to those of you who asked questions. As I mentioned in the intro, you will receive an aftermail with the recording from today. And please reach out to us if you have any comments or questions, for instance, about the Assessio platform and the features mentioned here today. So I just wanted to say to everyone, and especially you, Claus, have a lovely day and goodbye, everyone.